is Mike Tedesco from Ukulele Mana and UkeTV, and this is episode 8, Between the Strings episode with Kristen Souza of Kanile'a Ukulele. Kristen, how you doing?
Mm, Fantastic. Little wet here, of course,
Yeah,
but
I know, of
doing great.
course.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's so for folks, real quick, we're going to talk a little bit about Kanile'a, but the main thing we're going to talk about today is the Reforest Project, the Reforest Hawaii Project that Joe and Kristen started some years ago, and actually, real quick, why don't you just give the folks a reminder of what you're one of the founders of Kanile'a Ukulele, but why don't you give folks a quick reminder of what your role is with Kanile'a?
Okay, sure. So Joe and I started Kanila back in 1998, July. Coming up this
Coming
July is
up.
25 years. We're super excited. My role has shifted quite a bit from what it was previously, as far as I handled all dealer sales, customer service, um, ordering supplies, payroll, accounting, you name it, everything but building the instrument. So I really enjoyed that. But now we're in a transitionary period. I've trained Ilkepa and Kaimana to both take over all of the accounting, the HR, the sales, and marketing. And Kahiao is now got his hand on production. So as Joe and I transfer over into doing the reforestation, which you can kind of see here, I'm in the forest. Um,
Love it.
got beautiful hapu and koa and ohia, which we'll get to as well. But this has become what we feel very passionate about, just as ukulele. That's a passion that created into Kanile'a's what we are now. And we just have great goals here. And that's kind of where my role has been turned
I
more
love it.
so.
I love it.
Yeah.
No, it's so let's talk about it. I mean, I think I'm going to end up with Kaimana at some point. We'll do a whole 25th anniversary, and we'll probably we'll probably do Joe as well. But so let's talk about Reforest Hawaii. Give folks kind of a for folks that aren't super aware of it. What started it? What got you guys going on this whole thing?
Mm. Back, oh gosh, Joe won a falsetto contest back, I think it was around 24 years ago, maybe 23 years ago, I forget. And his winning number one first place prize was to go on a trip to Oahu. We're like, well, we live on Oahu. Could we switch it to Kauai? They're like, sure, no problem. So we flew over to Kauai and we were overlooking, it was Kaimana, Joe, and I, and we are overlooking the beautiful pastures and had all been cleared. And we said, wouldn't it be cool to plant a koa tree for every ukulele we build? And it just stuck in our minds. We didn't have that means to do that at that point, but we knew that back then that's what we always wanted to do. That was a goal. So we put it in the back of our head, but we put it out there to the world. And then in 2014, coming up almost 10 years ago, I was like, look for a property online. This is a voice that I heard from God. I am absolutely positive because it wasn't of discussion recently or at all, really, since that time. We just knew we wanted to do it. And we found a property that day. We called, came and looked at it the next day. The following day, we put in an offer, and reforestation, so saving Hawaii's forest, became a thing, all within a
Wow.
matter of 3 days.
Wow.
And then it was like, okay, now what?
Now
How
what?
do we do this?
Because
Now
you and
what?
Joe are
So
you and Joe are botanists, right? You guys are super educated in the back then. In I'm just kidding. Like that was
yeah,
not yeah
I
yeah.
know how to buy my vegetables from the grocery store at that point. That was that was it. So we just had this thing, like, we're like, all right, this is it. We're gonna do this. And then we learned, okay, how do we move forward in getting 195,000 trees in the ground? Because even though we wanted to do one for every instrument, we also wanted to include the entire world, because
Wow.
he is made up of so many diverse nationalities. We want to include all the countries within this project of ours. So we started researching, all right, we have to have the land surveyed. We got to document all the cowboy walls. We have to get a environmental assessment. Need to make sure the fencing goes up. Raise this, gather the seeds, raise the seedlings. It just was this big project. And we're like, okay, let's just take one step at a time, figure out how to do it, contact the experts, see what we need to do. And that's how our journey began. And we first started with doing the surveys and documentation with, because we have some really beautiful old cowboy walls, paniolo
Mhm.
walls, and because they're dry stack, all done by hand, and they're historical sites, so we had to
Wow.
document them and make sure that they're safe, make sure no animals were damaging them. If they did, we had to kind of fix them up. And then when our fencing was installed, we had to make sure we didn't touch the rock walls with the fencing, but still made sure it's high enough so that if any deer or sheep come in, they can't use the wall to catapult themselves and jump over. So there was all this stuff going on at the same time, and deciding where we're going to first plant, what we're first planting, what species, and all that type of stuff. And that's that's how it started, and we're still keep going. We've learned a ton. Like, I didn't know how to plant a koa tree. I didn't even know how to grow a koa tree when we
Yeah.
started, and now here we are. We've planted over 40,000 seedlings of different varieties, different species, from koa, iliahi, which is sandalwood, to all the little understory trees as well.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that, it's interesting. Um, not, I think people that have heard about Reforest Hawaii in connection with Kanile'a automatically just think koa, which obviously is a
Hmm.
huge piece of it because it's become so endangered and it is such a core thing to the ukulele world. So it's such a key piece.
Mhm.
But yeah, you guys do all. It's not just, and it's not even just ukulele trees that are or species that are only ukulele related. It's all you're trying to do all sorts of different native Hawaiian tropical vegetation.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So koa is the canopy tree because it's so large. And when you're doing reforestation, you need to have the different levels. You need to first get in the canopy trees, which is the of ohia, which is a native. We're only doing endemic plants. So we have ohia and koa. Those are our two canopy trees. We have to establish that first. Then once those trees are established, then we come in with the understory of the other natives: pilo, mamane, mamaki, aali, Hoava, Ilima. I mean, the list is fairly large, and then we do ferns as well. We're doing a full biodiverse forest. These aren't trees that are intended to be cut or harvested. A koa tree will take about 60 years just to reach maturity.
Wow.
I hope that I'm around in my hundred when I'm 100 to see these beautiful mature koa trees. But that's not our intention. Our intention is just to bring back the native forest. And we do have large kupuna koa trees. There's actually one right behind me. It's hard to see where I'm standing, but I could take you over to one. It's still a little rainy, but um, it's okay. And let me put this back on. My hair is getting all wet. um, we could have cut these. We have hundreds of large koa trees right here on the property. If one falls, which becomes part of the natural cycle, yes, we will come in and actually allow that tree to live on into our ukulele. It doesn't happen often, and I think we've had 2 trees. Joe knows more. I think 2 trees that have
Yeah,
fallen,
I think it's two.
and we're building these instruments from them, but we do still have hundreds of mature koa trees here. We continue to source our wood from, responsible people that have dead or fallen koa trees.
And
So
that's
our
a
goal is,
oh, go ahead.
yeah, our goal is just to get trees in the ground and not be harvested.
And that's the key. And I think that's one of the things that people don't know, and I didn't know early on was, it's not, you guys aren't just necessarily putting these trees all in to then rip them all back out and build ukulele with them. It's about the reforestation, and if one happens to come down, which I was fortunate enough. I'll bring it out now. Is I just picked this up, as you know, in February, and classic Kanile'a fashion. This is crazy looking koa wood, but this was all built from the second tree that came down in the forest a few years ago. I think it was 2019, if I remember what Kaimana told me. But other than a few small details in this uke, it is all bridge, fretboard, faceplate. Most of this 5-piece neck that Kaimana did, and obviously all the body is all from that one tree. And again, not a tree cut down, but a tree that came down and
Right.
then was lovingly taken care of and brought in and dried out, and then will now, this will be the sister to a number of I think the platinums this year are being pulled from that tree as well.
Right.
Which
Right.
is, it's just such a
Beautiful.
cool story. When Kaimana and I decided to build my Ukulele Mana custom, we went through all sorts of different tree combinations, wood combinations. Like, do we do cocobolo and this and that? And I said, man, you know what? Kanile'a builds amazing ukes across the board, but the Kanile'as, that I've had over time have just been these crazy koa, just beautiful koa, ukes. And I said, I think I want to go all koa, and then that's when he told me that this tree might be available, and I went, oh my god, this is just too perfect. It's a tree from not from the reforest growth that you guys did, but from the land that you purchased for the purpose of reforest, and it was harvested in the spirit of the Reforest Project. Of it came down on its own, and now its spirit is now being put to great use in ukulele. And I went, okay, that's the answer right there. We've got to build my uke from that.
That's the one. Yeah.
It's just it. So the whole reason I Ukulele Mana, the name came about because it's about the spirit. It's the spirit of ukulele, and I believe that there is, unique spirit in every tree. Not only in every
Mhm.
tree, but every piece of wood. You guys know better than anyone. I've seen Joe's where I learned it from. Was you could take the same block of wood and cut it. You cut one piece for a top, and then you cut the next piece for a top, and they can look different, sound different. There's koa is such an interesting wood that way, and so, I'm all about the spirit of it, and I think that's was one of the amazing things about that. So I'm just glad that I get to have my one little part in this whole thing, um, in that journey. So,
Very,
um,
very beautiful. Do you want to see a poetry? I might be able to show it on my computer.
yeah,
A
if
big
we can
one.
see it, yeah.
Let
If we
me
aren't
see.
going to kill our
Hopefully I
connection,
don't lose. Hopefully I don't lose connection. I'm kind of close.
that's all right.
Uh,
If you do, then
here's a
we'll just go in
here's a
again.
young poetry right there,
Oh,
right behind
right
me.
there. Yeah.
About 5 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm walking in the forest.
So far you're doing great, and
Oh, we're okay. It's right over here. I'm gonna hopefully get to it. But I'm gonna stand back, like not. I don't want to get too close to it because
sure.
here. Let's see. All right. So that's it right there.
Oh yeah, that's a biggie.
See that right here.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
poetry all the way
Wow.
up.
So how old is
Our
that one?
component. We're estimating about 130, 40 years old. I
Wow.
try to get closer. Let me see. See, get closer to it. Look at how big it is.
Yeah.
I don't want to fall off the cliff
No,
either.
no. You're all good. You're all good. Don't put
It's on
yourself in
a
any.
hill. Yeah, it's on a hill. But look how big
Wow.
this is.
It's huge.
Like, there's my, I don't know, there's my hand.
Yeah. No, you
Like,
can
I
see.
would not be able to, I would say four or five people would take to put their arms around it.
Wow.
Isn't that just beautiful?
It
As I get
is.
further away. Yeah,
It is.
that's it. So we have quite a bit of different large koa trees that are here in existence, and we use them as our seed bank. We
Yeah.
want to make sure that we're gathering seeds from this area. Yeah, but it's not
So,
raining so much anymore. But
it's cloudy like Seattle. um,
well, this is our rainy season right now. It's the
oh, it
opposite of
is.
everybody else.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
the cold from the mountains where the snow is, comes down the mountain in the over the nighttime and mixes with the heat from Kona, which creates those cloud banks, and then the rain comes in every day.
Interesting. I did
Yeah.
not know that.
So all behind me, that's all koa.
I love it.
Yeah, and those are pavers right there. we have to we have to put a road down because it's so muddy.
Mm,
And we don't want to do concrete. We have to create in order to get our machinery. Like we have ATVs that we use to drive to the different planting sites. So that's what that was.
that's amazing. And then how big of a team do you have now working with you guys to do this work? Yeah.
Well, we just hired two guys, Will and Peter, who will be doing the next planting of the 8,800 trees that started next week. And then we'll go to the next 8,800 to 9,000, 12,000. So we do it in bunches. Um, and then we also have some volunteers that come up, and then Joe, myself, and primarily that's it. There's not
Okay.
a big team. We wish we had a lot more people because then we would get more trees in the ground. But as you know, that's very costly.
Yeah.
For a salary in Hawaii to pay people to plant is quite hefty.
Yeah.
And between we have to still purchase a lot of the seedlings because we can't grow everything and operate our greenhouse. We have a beautiful, huge 60 by 60 greenhouse here with trays that have water filtration and can keep the seedlings watered. So that's part of
It's a
part of the
small team.
process. It's a small team, but we seem to get a lot done. And we do have every month we've worked with Habilitat. It's a substance abuse program. I don't know if you read about that on Saving
Hmm.
Hawaii's Forest website. But we bring them once a month for 6 days. We teach them how to do fencing repairs, site prep, invasive removal, planting, all that type of stuff. So that's also another 5 or 6 hands that help us in getting trees in the ground
Yeah,
every
teaching
month.
these folks a skill set too, right? So it's, I
Yeah.
mean, that's what I love about this project is it's not just this one thing. There's so much more. It's an ecosystem of itself,
Yeah.
in who
It,
you guys work with and who you partner with, and all that. It's there's
right.
so much around it that I think you know we could probably go on for days about everything that you guys are doing. So
Yes,
I
you're
was
right.
so two things that I thought were really interesting that I read about from going back to the actual koa trees. We see all the wood, and we sometimes some of us are fortunate enough to see the actual tree. But so you mentioned about early on, learning what to do and what not to do. It sounded so. I read that you guys were not you guys were putting the trees too close together and not realizing
Mm,
how big they get because they are canopy trees. And I think you guys were
mhm.
doing it. You said like 10 feet from center, which was way too close. And so
Mhm.
you got to really spread those out to be able to give them the room to do something like that one tree that you just showed us.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
so we did start 8 anywhere from 8 to 10 feet on center, which was the recommendation from, the experts at that time. Because reforestation is fairly new here in Hawaii, it's still gaining traction right now, and as we did it, then now we're looking at that 2017's planting, and it's more like a stick forest,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It's what have 8 feet. You think I just showed you that one tree that needs about 70 feet around. That's how big that is. So by doing that, so now we're spacing them out anywhere from 20 to 40 feet, depending on the terrain, the situation with the rock, the water, and allowing them to establish themselves at least for a couple years, and then we can come in and do the understory.
That's
So
awesome.
some people say 10 koa trees per acre, depending on who you speak with. Forest Solutions, who was that expert, told us 440 koa trees per acre. which we believe now is, I would say, probably about 50 koa trees per acre if we're lucky, because not all make it,
Sure, of
depending on
course.
the seed. Some stay really small, some do really well. There's no guarantee. Like I
Yep.
can see in the forest where we've planted one koa tree, it might be like right now, I don't know, the diameter is like, I don't know how to like 10 inches. And
Yep.
then one just next to it could be about 3 inches. It's this little stick. So you just never know what it's gonna do.
Sure.
And that's why they do recommend do a little more, because some might hit rock if there's a rock underneath, because we are in lava.
Sure.
And rock formations can be anywhere from 50 to 100 feet big. And if you put a tree on top of it, it can't establish the root system. Eventually, it might grow a little ways, like maybe 20, 30 feet tall, but it will fall. So you want to always accommodate for that situation, because we're not
Sure.
selling these trees to anyone. We're not in the business of investment or anything like that. We just want to create the habitat for the birds and get as many trees in the ground as we can. Yeah.
Yeah, and the I read too that something like, I think it was like 80 or 90% of the original like endemic birds that were
Mhm.
like native to Hawaii are gone now. So
Yep.
trying to help bring or sustain as much as possible with that. You don't even think about that when you're talking about the reforest. You don't, you're thinking about the tree, but the whole ecosystem that impacts.
Yep. There's even a native spider, a native butterfly. All of these insects and birds are becoming more plentiful. We have people commenting that came here years ago and compared to now, and they said the song of the birds is it's just incredible. It's brilliant, and they are all day singing.
That is, I
You
love
might
it.
even be able to hear them.
I can hear a little bit in the background there. Um,
Hmm.
so the other thing that was interesting that I read was, and you mentioned a little bit about the animals and keeping the animals out, like the deer and the sheep and whatnot, is that apparently koa plants or koa trees is very sweet to the animal, and they
Hmm.
absolutely love it. So you guys were, if you didn't have the barriers that you create, um, these animals would come in and try to eat all your seedlings that you're first coming up.
Right, right. Totally. So a keiki, a small seedling, a child seedling, is very succulent and sweet. And if an animal runs out of grass, say a horse gets in here, and they're gonna first go to grass. So their second choice would be koa.
That's
But what
crazy.
happens is now with all of the heat that has been coming, we've had hotter summers. What happens is the grass is dying. Everything is dying off during anywhere from August to December. It gets really hot, whereas used to be very cold, and cattle love koa. They'll go for the koa before the grass.
Oh wow.
Even more so than a horse. Sheep, if a sheep gets in, they eat everything. They eat the fern, the understory, the koa, everything.
Oh
So
man.
they're very detrimental to the forest, including pigs. We have a huge pig problem on the state. And what pigs do is they come in, and then after we've planted a seedling, it has fertilizer, has water, and the pigs go and they're going to want to dig up all around the seedling
Oh man.
because they want the fertilizer in the water. So keeping the pigs out is also super important, or they're going to come up and uproot all of our new plantings. And we got to replant everything. So it's really not only the sheep or deer, it's pretty much all animals. And then they'll come in and they'll rub their butts on them, and that's that's why the forest got so decimated too, because all the animals were allowed to just go in the forest. A new seedling would come up and it would eat it. So it wasn't the forests aren't able to regenerate and thrive to be fully functional. Yeah, if
Sure.
there's the animals in there. Although we need animals,
Well, of course.
please.
Of course.
We need animals.
But
Yeah.
that's why it's an ecosystem, and you got to try to, and it's a constant balancing act. And the crazy thing, you're piece of land, correct me if I'm wrong, it's 96 acres. Is that correct?
This is 96 and the next planting area is 162.
Yeah, so we're not talking like a small area that you guys got to make sure you're maintaining and figuring out like how to keep
Mhm.
I mean, it's this is sizable. It's this is a lot of work. So no wonder you're
Mhm.
putting in so much time and effort to what you're doing on this. That's a lot.
Yes. It's a lot, and the invasive removal is probably, if I were to separate my planting time with invasive removal time, invasive removal is probably 70% of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
It's
that's where like
a lot.
the plants that grow that come in and overtake things like koa and the other species, they'll come in
Correct.
like during your rainy. Actually, probably right now is a big problem right now. Yeah.
Yeah, they're accelerated. The Himalayan raspberry, the Mysore, the banana polka, the lantana, they're all just they'll smother the trees to death. They just take all the nutrients. Yeah. And when it rains like it is right now, like you said, they grow faster than we can handle it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, we
Um,
got it under control. I'm trying to see if there's any in here. This is our forest. I don't know if you can see.
yeah.
Kind
Oh
of
yeah,
stopped
we can
raining.
see
These
it.
are all little koa trees. Um, let's see. I don't want to get too far,
Yeah,
but you'll
and the
see there's not
ferns. You can see the fern there.
there. Here's I see one invasive I have to come get. It's an ash tree. I don't know if you can see this here. I don't want to fall. It's all rocky.
No, you're
But
good.
this right here,
Oh yeah, that right there.
that's ash. So I need to get what we call a crocagator. It's a extractigator and it pulls the roots out. But that tree is very invasive, but ash is what they use to make baseball bats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it is useful in some areas, just not here in the native forest.
Right.
So
As
there's a
part of what
job
you're
for me
trying to
today.
do.
Yeah. So
um,
that one I can get out and but we try to stay on top of it and we do need support from everybody around the world. And that's why we'll have this sweepstakes that's coming up. I don't know if you've heard about that yet, but it's coming out October 14th, and it'll be a $10 entry per chance to win, and it's tax deductible, and there's no limit. And the goal is to get some invasive removal equipment, which is a
nice.
chipper. We really need a chipper here because our invasive removal is so much of our time. We could just take it and chip it. Right now, we're piling it high. We have about a half an acre of
Oh boy.
invasives, and Joe brings a machine in, the tractor, and we have to keep mulching it down as much as we can. But with that, the little sprouts grow up, the seeds are there. So we really need to focus on getting that done, and then it'll also get more trees in the ground. Planting is the ultimate goal because as you get that canopy, it shades out the invasives.
Oh,
That's why this area here is minimal invasives, whereas out in our new planting area, in 2017, 18, 19, 21, and 22, there's a lot of invasives because there's a lot of sunlight, and
got
that's
it.
where we spend most of our time. So we want to get the trees up big, get those invasives out.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. So
yeah.
the going back to the sweepstakes you mentioned since you brought it up, is that can people go to the reforesthawaii.org for that?
It's going to be on save. Is our website is
Oh
savinghawaiisforest.org.
yeah. Yep.
And on October 14th, they'll be able to start their entry. Not
Okay.
until then. It will only run for 30 days.
Yep.
And they can enter as many times as they want. They can tell friends and family, um, and make sure they keep their receipt and put a phone number and an email because we have an outside company in the mainland who will pull the winner.
Oh, got
Then
it.
they'll contact the winner by phone and email and to verify, and then they have a certain guidelines that they follow. We don't pull the winner ourselves just to keep it fair
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, we don't want to we don't want to do that.
Yeah. No.
we want we want it to be handled by them, and so that they will contact the winner.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, and I'll make sure that
Oh,
the links are
but I
up
have
on
to
the
tell you
YouTube.
what you
Oh
can
yeah.
win. I
Oh,
have to tell you
that
what you
of
can win.
course. Of course. How do we forget that?
I know, right? it's a custom Kanile'a ukulele,
Ooh.
and it has the inlay of mamaki and the pulelehua, which is the native butterfly,
Ooh.
inlaid by Craig Lavin, and he gifted that to that instrument from
That's
his
amazing.
heart. He also inlaid a similar design of the mamaki plant, which is a therapeutic plant, and the pulelehua on a Taylor guitar, custom Taylor guitar. So, and there'll be a cash prize with it. So it's a custom Kanile'a, custom Taylor guitar, and cash for the
I'm
winner.
definitely entering. I'm entering. I guarantee you
Right?
I'm entering. There's no way I'm not
I know,
entering.
it's so beautiful. Yes. So that's what people can get a chance to win, and all the monies will go towards reforestation and getting more trees in the ground.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
One more thing I wanted to ask you about. It's a few years ago, but I just thought that this was so cool that you guys you guys created a CD as part of your fundraiser. I can hear the birds.
Can hear them.
Yeah, this sounds beautiful. The Ola Ka Aina that you guys created, the CD as another thing that you guys have done to try to raise money. Talk about what that was and some of the music there, because you guys also, that CD ended up I think was nominated for a Hoku, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So Ola Kaina, the CD was created 5 years ago now, and it's all of the songs are written about this forest here, and all of the proceeds go towards saving Hawaii's forest. And you can listen to it on all the different streaming platforms, Apple. I don't even know them all, right?
Yeah.
Pandora.
Spotify,
They
all
all
those.
Spotify. hmm And there's 13 songs on that CD, and that was for Corinthians 13:13, because what we focus on is the three greatest things, which are faith, hope, and love.
Hmm.
And if you listen to those songs, thinking of a forest in Hawaii, and each writer, for example, Willie K, he wrote his song Island Lullaby, and it's when he found out that he has had cancer, right? So listening to the words and relating to each person, it's just very inspirational, and they're just also different too. There's some instrumental, there's some Hawaiian, and there's some English songs on there. Yeah. So please take a listen.
Yeah, it's why I wanted to bring it up, is because it was created for such a good cause, but the stories in there, and then also artists like, you've got someone like Willie K, who unfortunately we don't have with us anymore. Um, an amazing person. Forget about the
Absolutely.
music, but just the person. But his music, obviously, and so I wanted to make sure I brought that up, just because for those that aren't aware of it, I want to make sure, and I'll put a link to that as well in the YouTube description, so that people know where to go listen to it.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, absolutely. And I know that we're running on battery, so we're limited on time, and you're also a super busy person. Um, just other than the sweepstakes this fall, kind of what's over the next year, kind of what's coming with all of this. Um,
With Saving
with
Hawaii's Forest?
yeah,
Yeah, well, the goal here, we're hoping probably to get 40,000 trees in the ground this year.
amazing.
So if someone wants to become a monthly supporter, they can do that. That's always an option through the website. Besides the Olakaina CD, listening to that. There's also Amazon Smile, where you can select Saving Hawaii's Forests as a
Mm,
recipient right now, and the sweepstakes. That's about it at the moment. Or if someone wants to email us besides a donation, they can also sponsor one of the substance abuse residents. They
oh,
can say,
okay,
I would like to sponsor their trip from Oahu to Kona, and we work directly with them, and we get them a jacket, boots, and gloves so that they can work out there, because they don't have the clothing that is necessary to come up here and work in the rain and in rough terrain with all the rocks.
sure.
So if someone wants to sponsor someone like that, they just email us, and we'll work directly with them. Mhm.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot to go on over this next year,
Yeah.
and I absolutely love it. I mean, as soon as I was getting UkeTV going. When I talked to Kaimana, I kept saying I want to do a conversation about Reforest Hawaii because I think this is so cool. And I don't know if you noticed, but I'm wearing my Reforest Hawaii shirt
Yes.
today that I
Mm.
picked up at the Windward store.
Yeah, actually, that's another avenue. We have new apparel that just came out.
Oh, cool.
Uh, we have the long sleeve sun protection. We got hats, and all of the proceeds from that towards saving Hawaii's forests as well.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure
yeah.
that that's linked to as well.
Thanks.
Well, Kristen,
Great.
thank you so much. I mean, I know you're crazy busy with this. It's a lot, but I really appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully people love. Even if we end up with, we'll see how the recording goes, but even if there's a little bit of stutter here and there, I think it was so worth actually having the forest in the background because it really does bring home like what you guys are trying to do. You can sit in a room and talk about trees all day, but when you're able to show that with the background,
Yes.
it really does show what you guys are, you're living in this and actually,
Yes. Yeah.
doing it.
Some more. I'll show you some more. And that's a koa tree right there, that little one.
Oh, okay. That's a
Yeah,
little tiny
there's
guy.
one right there. Yeah, there's a little one. They're everywhere. So one day we hope to open this place up for people to come and visit. Let me take you through some more. We'll find some more koa trees. They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
This is
This is a
cool.
really yeah, this one right here, this mamaki,
Hmm.
this is the one I was just talking about with the sweepstakes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. It's super therapeutic. And you see how the leaf, I'm trying to get my camera,
Oh,
see
yeah,
the
I see
leaf
it.
there, how it's eating?
Hmm.
That was done by the caterpillar from the Pulele Hua butterfly. I don't know if there's any
Oh,
on here.
interesting.
And that's how you know it's been eating it. They eat the edges of the leaf.
Wow.
And this plant here, we actually have the tea. It's a very therapeutic tea. It helps with blood pressure, diabetes, um, what is it also there's numerous benefits from this, and it tastes delicious. But we have mamaki tea, but this is going to be the plant with the butterfly. um Here's a
So
little
cool.
koa tree. I don't know if you can see here. I'm
Oh,
trying my
yeah.
best. That's a koa tree, little one.
Little tiny one.
I don't know, tiny one. If you see the moss on the ground,
Yeah.
see that? It's all native. This is all. Oh shoot! I almost dropped my books, but I don't know if you can see. It's
Yep.
squishy.
Yep.
Can you see that?
Yep.
And I push down. It's squishy. And then we have right here. Let me see. I'm trying my best. Where's
You're
this
doing
plant?
great.
This here. Where's my hand? This is pukiave. It's a very slow growing native plant.
Okay.
Very beautiful. Right behind poetry. So
So cool.
this poetry here is probably about 3 years old, maybe.
Okay. One
Yep,
of the newer
right
ones.
there. One of the new ones, yeah. And then here's ohia. These big ones, these are all ohia. You can see how big they are.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
100 feet tall, and then all
But then they canopy
um,
out and create that shade that you were talking about.
correct. And then the shade keeps the ground and the land cool because
That's
we need
awesome.
the earth to be cool, and then it allows the understory, which are these little plants here that I'm showing you, the mamaki, and here's another pukiave right there.
Yep.
They need that shade and coolness, otherwise they dry out from the sun. So there's your forest tour for the moment.
I did not think that
Sorry,
we
I
were going
was
to get quite the tour. This has been awesome. I did not think we were going to get a tour quite like this.
yeah,
This has been so cool. I really appreciate you taking the time today.
sure, no problem. My pleasure, and it was really nice getting to talk with you and share about our project. We hope that everybody can be a part of this in some way and make this a better place.
Well, we will definitely make sure that I will definitely make sure that I'm pushing this message as much as I can.
Thank you. We
All
appreciate
right.
the support.
You bet. Aloha.
Okay. Aloha.